Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Jerrika Rydell, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you for listening and being here. I hope you enjoy the topic. Hey, Jerrika.
Hey, Alex, what's new? What's exciting in your life?
Other than you being so old now that it's crazy. For
those that are listening, Alex is way older than me.
Jared got a birthday recently, so naturally I got to harass her about it. No, something new for me is spinning, riding a bike. I've always hated spinning. Like, I don't know. Do you like spinning?
I love spin class.
Oh, okay. I've always hated it. Spin classes didn't mind so much because it's competitive and more intense.
Yeah.
But like to hop on a spin bike and do a workout
alone? No.
To me, it's like I could burn out my legs easily, but I could not get my lungs to work. Like, it was always legs before lungs, which any other form of cardio, I could get lungs hammered. So that was like my big pet peeve with spinning. Anyways, we got a spin bike last year, like I don't know, 3/4 of the way through the year, and I've been using it a lot, and it's pretty friggin' awesome once you get good at it and you get used to it. I think that goes with any cardio though. Like, everybody's like, oh, I hate running so much. It's like, well, have you ever really gotten good at running? Because I think anybody who takes the time to get good at something, they start to like it more, and they can challenge themselves more. So that's now where I finally feel like I'm getting to a spinning, like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I like it.
That's awesome. Are you following like a class or a program or instructor thing on an app, or are you just doing your own?
Yeah, it's Peloton. So
Awesome.
They have a lot of options. There's you can do classes, which are cool. Sometimes you can do like a scenic route, which just like, it doesn't actually feel like I'm biking through Hawaii, but like you see some cool things along the way and you can push the pace however you want. And then there's like a video game style, which obviously I like because I'm competitive. That's a big one for me. There's always a leaderboard and there's always people pushing you. And like, I never come first, and I don't really care about coming first. I always like to watch the people around me and not let people pass me, and try to pass the person in front of me. So whether I'm finishing in like 3rd or 400th, I'm just trying to pass that person like one ahead of me, which really drives me.
That's what I would like to. Yeah. Definitely. Cool. That's awesome.
So what I want to talk about today, we're coming into a time of year where that January New Year's motivation is probably gone or going. There's two things that basically I see every successful person have on their health and fitness journey. And to be successful, I think, I don't want to say every person because it's not fair, but I think almost every person is going to have accountability and a game plan. And the people who leave those up to chance often ride the roller coaster that I think every listener's familiar with. They have periods of success and then they fall off track. And I think those two things are necessary to succeed. So accountability and a game plan. I've got more to add to this, but I'm curious, do you agree or disagree, or what are your thoughts on that?
I agree for sure. And I think we'll dive into it. So I'm going to say I agree.
Okay. So with accountability, this is a thought that I've been toying with a lot lately. I think accountability and motivation go hand in hand. And so I think when motivation rides really, really high, accountability becomes less important. And when motivation rides really, really low, accountability becomes more important. And motivation, we talk about motivation tons, so we don't have to have a conversation today about motivation, but it's going to come in waves, right? So I believe that motivation follows action, and not the other way around, right? So we can't just sit at home hoping and praying for motivation to show up, because it won't. We have to take action first, and as we take action, we build momentum, which then brings motivation. but motivation comes in waves. And a time like January, motivation's at an all-time high. Pair that high motivation with some form of game plan and you're successful. Now, motivation starts to dip come February, March. If we haven't replaced it with extra accountability, that's where we fall off track. That's my thought process. What do you
Love
think?
it. Absolutely. I honestly don't think I've ever looked at it in this direction before with the like inverse relationship between the two. But 1000% I agree. I think about all the people at this time of the year that I see in my own life joining a gym, for example, and it's the ones that, you know, didn't maybe join with a friend or it doesn't really get to know the coach and hold them accountable, that all of a sudden they're not showing up. So that's actually a really good point, and I agree fully.
Cool. So we don't have to talk about the specifics of either. Like this doesn't really need to be a long chat because we've covered accountability on episodes, we've covered motivation on episodes, we've covered creating a game plan on episodes, but the relationship between them. So basically what I want people to start thinking of is like, okay, maybe I'm motivated right now, maybe I'm not. That motivation is going to come in waves. Regardless of what I do, that motivation is going to come in waves. So schedule changes, injuries, illnesses, family events, holidays, all of these things are going to change our level of motivation. I book a holiday, boom, motivation's instantly spiked because now I've got a vacation where I need to wear a bathing suit and I want to look a certain way. Motivation spikes. Accountability probably becomes less important. It doesn't mean you don't need accountability. It's just going to become less important for a time being. That being said, if I've booked that vacation 9 months from now, the motivation is going to spike right when you book it. It's going to dip for a period of time and it's going to spike as you get closer. So these are things that we need to be really, really aware of. Where do I see my motivation spiking? And sometimes you'll have control over that. Sometimes you won't. There's going to be things, random events you don't have control over. Where do I see my motivation being at its highest? Where do I see it being at its lowest? What is my accountability going to look like and change through that periods where motivation is low? Anything? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because you talked about game plan as well, right? And I'm not sure if you're going to feed into this shortly, but so let's say you're saying accountability is low, motivation's high. We're excited about this trip that we booked. So maybe, or even right now, January, I'm thinking about the people who just jumped into a gym, had no game plan, but that didn't matter because their motivation was high,
really,
right?
really?
But pardon me?
Their motivation was probably through the roof, higher than the roof.
So they didn't even necessarily need a game plan. They're just going to walk around the room, try every machine and keep going. And if they're doing that consistently for the first little bit, that's fine. But then when motivation starts to dip and they don't have a game plan, and even then they might not even have that accountability at this point. That's the point you're saying that we lose everybody.
Yeah.
So
I even want to challenge, before you go on, I even want to challenge that thought because their motivation was high and they didn't have a specific game plan, but their game plan was to go to the gym consistently. That was the plan. Right. That plan's going to change, adapt, and it's not going to carry you through forever. But you're like, yeah, I'm going to start going to the gym 4 days a week. Well, that is your plan right now. And you paired that with motivation to succeed.
I like it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The game plan's just got to be some direction.
And it does need to adapt and change with your goals and progress. So like in the beginning, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate what this game plan needs to be. What are the things that I know I need to do consistently to succeed? Well, if I show up at the gym 4 days a week right now, that's better than me not going at all. That's where I'll start. Then once I'm going to the gym 4 days per week, now what is the next stage of this game plan need to look like? How can I adapt this game plan so that it's still challenging me and forcing me to become better?
And what's interesting too is I'm thinking about the person who's got the trip later on and, you know, motivation's dipping, but they have that accountability. Their friend's going to drag them to the gym or, you know, whatever, they have some sort of accountability in place. But part of their game plan may actually be to have an accountability partner. Like my plan is going to be meeting so-and-so, you know, so those kind of go, like you said, they go hand in hand, but you can actually incorporate that accountability within your game plan.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you said that. Actually, I think too often we leave our health and fitness up to chance. And truthfully, like I'm not a big believer in luck. I think we create a lot of our own luck. And I think if you're just like, yeah, I'm going to kick ass in 2023, like you're probably going to fail because you need to be very honest with yourself. Be like, my motivation is through the roof right now. What does this look like once motivation dips? And then if you say, okay, I've got this friend, cool. Is that going to be enough accountability to keep me moving forward once my motivation's gone? If yes, awesome. Let's keep rocking and let's adapt that game plan as we go. If no, how am I going to up that level of accountability? For some people, that's like investing in a trip, having a wedding planned, having an outfit that you really want to wear, a picture of a way you want to look or a way you have looked in the past, a vision board, hiring a coach. Often it comes down to investing your time and money into something. When we invest our time and money, we pay attention. But not always. That's going to be a little bit different for each person. Anything you want to add there?
I don't think so. I agree. I was just thinking about, this was like you said this at the beginning, but how you said you don't really believe in leaving things up to chance. It just made me think of, I actually just listened to one of Coach Kelly's podcast. She's a separate podcast, and she was talking about like people who manifest but then don't create action afterwards. And it just made me think of that. It's like, I can sit here and be like, okay, I got a trip soon, I'm so excited, I'm going to look this way, and then it's like, well, you actually need to take action. It was all about taking action, and I thought that was really cool. And you're just not leaving it to chance, you're actually doing something about it. So we talk about, yes, I have an accountability partner, but I need to create my action steps, which is the game plan. And it just made me think about the people who manifest, which there's nothing wrong with manifesting or wanting something, but you actually have to do something about it.
Yeah. This goes hand in hand with our saying that discipline is greater than motivation, right? Because discipline we can rely on, but discipline is all circling back into making sure I have proper accountability, making sure I have a proper plan. That's part of discipline. Building things into my schedule, my routine, setting myself up for accountability, always forward thinking. Okay, motivations come. I know that I'm coming into February where I typically struggle. I know I'm coming into March where I typically struggle. What can I do to increase my odds of success here? Rather than just being like, oh, January is amazing, let's see if February is too. I hate when I ask people how things are going and they're like, oh yeah, things are going really well, I hope that I can keep it up. Well, what do you mean you hope that you can keep it up? You have 100% control over this. So what are you doing to increase your chances of keeping it up? Right? I'm not saying that you're not going to hit setbacks, because like I've hit them. I get it. But what are you doing to increase your chances of keeping it up, rather than just sitting there being like, oh, I hope this keeps going this way?
I think honestly, that's like the biggest take home here.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to do regular check-ins with yourself, and these check-ins need to occur even when you have your motivation is high, because it could be mid-January and okay, my motivation is still high, but I'm going to write this down, like, Jerrika, what's going to happen when next week, typically this is statistics say third week of January, your motivation is going to dip. Okay, let's make a plan now. Okay, so how can I increase my accountability? Now I'm going to reach out to someone, I'm going to reach out to a coach, etc. How can I better create a game plan? Okay, I'm going to write 3 action steps to make sure I'm following these. Like, but it's doing it before we get stuck. Yes, we can acknowledge, okay, I'm in a rut, let's increase accountability, let's increase the game plan. But the cooler part would be, or the bigger take home would be, regular check-ins with yourself, or if you have a coach, etc., to get ahead of it, which would be the goal, I think.
Yeah, like I don't want to just sit here and be like a hype man for our program. Obviously we do this because we want new clients and we want people to hear this and be like, oh, maybe I need to check out Breaking 90. But like, what we offer is one of the top levels of accountability, right? So that's what we offer in our coaching program. The people who buy into or invest in that kind of accountability before their motivation is at an all-time low often kick ass. When you recognize that I want to get a head start on this, I want to make sure I've got a game plan and accountability in place before my motivation dips, those are the people that crush it. Now, On the flip side to that, any big purchase or any investment in your health or any long-term investment like a trip gives you that initial spark of motivation. So just getting on every time I get somebody on a one-on-one call, whether or not it ends up being a good fit, whether or not they start with us, they all leave that call and they're like, oh, I feel really motivated now to take action. Like it gives you that little recharge of motivation to start building out some of that discipline and creating your game plan off of regardless. But it's not going to last, right? You have to always prepare for what will this look like when motivation is gone.
I think what's every week we ask when we chat with our clients, we ask, do you have any upcoming obstacles this week? So this, I mean, you can ask yourself this, but as coaches, we are trying to plan for situations like this. You know, is there a big event that's happening? And this doesn't have to be something that's going to make your motivation drop. Like you, at the time when we're asking you this as a client, you might not think that your motivation will be altered because of this event, but you might show up to this event and you're like, oh, the hell with the program today. So we try to plan for those events in advance. And then we know, okay, let's hold so-and-so extra accountable today because they said they want to try and stick with their plan, even though they have this event. So I think it all comes down to accountability at the end of the day.
The best example I can give of this is for people who are having their first child. I went into it with like such an ill-conceived idea of what was realistic. Before Emerson was born, like I was training like twice a day. My nutrition was dialed in, everything was perfect. And I was like, cool. So I'm gonna be a little bit tired, but I still don't see this being difficult to uphold this. I went in with a terrible game plan. Right. And so we know that things like sleep deprivation inhibit our decisions. Well, it also is going to inhibit your motivation. So motivation all of a sudden goes from all-time high to all-time low, paired with an improper game plan that I didn't review. Recipe for failure until I revisited all of that and reestablished my new norms. It's just really, Jerrika touched on this, but it's really good to have these check-ins with ourselves along the way and reevaluate what needs to change. What does my new accountability and game plan need to look like for this new season and change of my life?
Awesome.
That's it. That's all I wanted to touch on. I think it's an important message for people this time of year. You're going to get another spark of motivation pre-summer, guys. Get ready for that. But until then, what are you going to do to increase your odds of success?
Cool. I love it. What tip do you have for us today?
Tip today was just having something set up. I call it like a day finisher. I'm sure I've probably talked about this in the past, but I have like if you think of the finisher of a workout, like often we'll put like a little like 1 to 5 minute burst of exercise at the end of a workout to like finish the last amount of energy you have. This is something that I've added to my days. So I just do a quick assessment. Was this day on par with my movement goals or not? And if not, then I do my finisher. And so I've got a couple different ones, like I'll do like a 5-minute stair climb, or I've got a little circuit that I do in the basement, or I'll row for like 5 minutes. And so those are like my 3 finishers. And it's like, is it perfect? No, it's absolutely not. I'm not saying that this should be replacing your exercise routine, but it's a fun way to make a day that you would consider below average just a little bit better. Maybe it didn't bring it up to average or par, but it made it a little bit better. And it's always pushing ourselves. It's pushing our bare ass minimums, which we talk about a little bit, or we talk about a lot, sorry, is making our worst days a little bit better, which in turn makes our average days better and our best days better.
Cool. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard you use that term before, but I know what you're talking about.
What, like the finisher?
Yeah, like in terms of like daily, in terms of your like daily life as a finisher at the end of the day. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. And I think it could be applied to different areas too, but right now I'm using it from an exercise standpoint. So I just really do a quick size up. Did I move as much as I want today? Yes or no? It's pretty easy for us to sit there, and even without a fitness tracker or anything, it's pretty easy for us to be like, no, I sat on my ass all day. Cool. Let's go do this 5-minute finisher.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good tip.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you rate it, comment on it, and share it. Most of all, wherever you're listening right now, take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram story, and tag us. That's huge for us. It means more than you know, and it gets a lot more listeners out here. So thanks for being here.